Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Justice League issue 12, which is part three of the Drowned Earth saga. I'm also going to throw in a quick review of the tie-in of Aquaman 42. Guys, this Drowned Earth, it's picking up a little bit. I'm starting to find that I'm not enjoying this as much as Witching Hour, but it's still pretty good. It's very clear what Scott Snyder, I think, is doing here. Although I do note this Justice League issue number 12, it is written by James Tynion IV, and which you can tell it's written by James Tynion because there's more words, it's more clear, you get a better understanding and a better explanation of what exactly has been going on, and again, that's not a put down to Snyder because Snyder, I think, has got the high concepts, and Tynion is really good at sort of flushing it out a little bit more and spelling it out, at least for readers like myself, and I really appreciate that. Now, guys, we left off last issue, or part 2 of the Drowned Earth saga, with basically Aquaman and Wonder Woman finally finding Poseidon in the graveyard of the gods in essentially what they believe to be, I believe, the tomb of Orion, and Orion being one of the very founders of Atlantis, many tens of thousands of years ago. Now, Poseidon nonsensically just killed Aquaman, or so we thought he had killed Aquaman at the end of last issue. That ended up not being the case. Apparently, that was Poseidon's way of being nice. He was just basically, I think that was done more for dramatic effect. But apparently, Poseidon actually is. He's dead. He was, if you recall, Poseidon was actually killed by, or we thought was killed by the cheetah. She utilized the tear of extinction. Now, I called it the tear of extinction before. I was wrong. I asked the question before, is this the tear of extinction or the tear of extinction? I didn't know. Apparently, it's a tear, as in a tear, almost like a teardrop. It's a tear of extinction. And I guess in hindsight, maybe I feel like an idiot thinking it was a tear, but I wasn't really. I don't know. I guess it needs to be spelled out more for a doughhead like me, but it makes sense that it's the Tear of Extinction. We get a little bit of a background of what the Tear of Extinction actually was. It was, in fact, created by Orion way back in the day as a way to protect themselves from the so-called attack by these 3 sea creatures from another world that have entered our realm and have basically flooded the earth. This Commander Rogue, Captain Gull, and Commander Tide, Drogue, Tide, and Gull. Well, it ends up, apparently, Poseidon, it's all Poseidon's fault. Poseidon basically confesses to Wonder Woman and Aquaman that him and Orion, he was very impressed with Orion tens of thousands of years ago. Orion was an adventurer, a sorcerer, what have you, was a really all-around great guy and a real superhero in the old ancient Atlantis, or at least in the days when ancient Atlantis was forming and it became a great seafaring nation. And Orion had dreams of sort of expanding the wonder of Atlantis to various parts of the universe. And Orion himself was inspired to want to do that from Poseidon himself, because Poseidon talked to him about the power of the sea life and how the power of sea life in apparently on Earth with his with the power of life that exists in the sea, that it's particularly unique to Earth, and that this power of life, it could spread out in other parts of the galaxy. And Orion wanted to do that. Orion, Lord of Atlantis, he wanted to spread the joy, so to speak. He wanted to share this life force with the universe. And he did so, and he attracted, of course, Captain Gull, Commander Tide, and Drogue to the Earth. But Poseidon he didn't want to share it. Poseidon changed his mind, and then Poseidon unfortunately poisoned Orion's mind. And then he put fear in Orion's mind, and Orion created this tear of extinction. And it was this tear of extinction that he used to basically banish Rogue and Tide and Gull into the graveyard of the gods. But by doing so, it cost Orion his life. And now the corpse of Orion is in the graveyard of the gods, and this is where Aquaman and Wonder Woman are. And of course, now we've got Black Manta there, who was given the power of Aquaman and to be able to connect to all sea life. The three, Drogue, Tide, and Gaul took the power from Aquaman, gave it to the Black Manta, and of course the Black Manta now basically has all the power that Aquaman used to have, and they're sitting there in the tomb of Orion having this big battle, and ultimately Wonder Woman and Aquaman managed to escape, and before escaping, Poseidon, who basically sacrifices himself because he's going to stay at the graveyard of the gods and probably finally die, whatever constitutes death. In comic books, he's going to die. And he gives Aquaman his trident, which will presumably help reconnect him to the sea, I'm guessing. Not really sure. I guess we'll have to wait and see in future issues what that does. But Aquaman and Wonder Woman do manage to escape. Meanwhile, we have Superman and the Flash battling, and I'm not even sure where they're at. But in any event, the best fight here is with Batman in the Hall of Justice protecting the totality from the Legion of Doom. That's quite good. I don't want to ruin that for you. It's kind of I encourage you to pick up the issue. There's some good lines there, some good scenes. Tynion does a good job with dialogue here. Batman kicking ass, even though his arms and legs are fairly useless, but he actually utilizes Lex Luthor's own armor to try to protect the totality and prevent the Legion of Doom, prevent the Cheetah and Lex Luthor and the Joker basically from taking the totality. And while, again, it was somewhat of a stalemate, Lex Luthor does manage to take I believe he is successful in taking the tier of the Cheetah still has the tier of extinction, and the totality now it is in the hands of the Legion of Doom. So what's going to happen? Things aren't looking really good. It's clear that apparently two other forces, remember there was those 7 forces that were released into the universe when the source wall broke down. There's now 2 more that have been released. We don't know what they are yet. We do know that, of course, we have the Ultraviolet Core, we have the Sage Force, and we have, I don't know, is it the Strength Force? I can't remember now. This is a little bit sort of the problem here. It seems to me that look, the fact that I can't remember all the forces off the top of my head is only probably because I don't know. Did I have too much to drink earlier? I don't know. I didn't drink today, so what's my excuse? The easy answer is to say the story is just not memorable, but it's not. I just wish what's going here, what's happening here with this series. The pattern here for Justice League is, and I think it's quite evident, we're going to be having another 50 issues of this where we're going to be having each one of these new forces is going to come out, and we're probably going to have a weekly series. We're going to have a 1-month series. We're going to have an event. We had Witching Hour. Then we have the Drowned Earth, which deals with the tier of extinction. Then we're probably going to have another mini event, weekly event going on for 5 weeks, dealing with another force, and then another force after that. And then all these things are going to be individual arcs. And I think Snyder and Tynion are going to be sort of trading off to try to, Snyder's going to tease with the high concepts, and then Tynion's going to finish off the arcs with explaining what the hell happened in the previous issues. In any event, I don't mind that. It's okay. It's okay. It's still, if I have one, if I'm nitpicking here, I do find that it's a little bit, I find it a little bit of a struggle, and maybe that's just me. I don't find it flows very well. And one of the tests that I have about a comic book, and this is going to sound very egocentric. So you can say, well, I'm too damn egocentric. But when I've read this comic book 4 times, and maybe this is going to make me sound like an idiot. And if I am, well, so be it. But when I can't explain a comic, articulately and fluently, after reading it 4 times in a timely manner, that's kind of my clue that there's just too much going on, and it's a little bit all over the place. And there's things here that are a little bit inconsistent with previous issues, and I just don't have time to go into it. But I find myself always humming and hawing and wondering and questioning and flipping back and looking and reading, and it's all right. It's all right. It's not like Witching Hour. Witching Hour I actually enjoyed. I actually enjoyed the longer exposition in Witching Hour. I thought that was a little bit simpler to catch on to from beginning right to end. And it's not a coincidence, I say again, that every single issue of Witching Hour, every chapter, was written by James Tynion IV. This was the first one where it was actually made clear that it was a tier of extinction as opposed to a tear. And again, call me an idiot, but I didn't know. Is it a tear? How did you make a tear? And if it's a tier, how can it be a tier? You know, even in this issue, it's a tier of extinction. If it's one tier, didn't you use it up? Wasn't the tier of extinction, if it was one tier, wasn't that used up 10,000 years ago and Orion used it to destroy or to banish the three Gaul, Tide, and the other guy into the graveyard of the gods? The tier still exists? Does the tier ever not be used up? Didn't Cheetah use up the tear when she killed Poseidon with it or slit his throat? But now apparently Mira uses the tear of extinction because she could somehow sense it. She's never been aware of the tear of extinction even existing in the first place. Mira's never heard of it before, but now suddenly she's in the tomb of Orion and she just senses it around. She senses it on the corpse of Orion. How? And if you sense a tear on a corpse, how do you find it? I mean, plus you're underwater. How do you find a tear of anything underwater? Isn't everything a tear? Isn't water by definition a lot of tears? I don't know, but maybe I realize that I'm being too anal and nitpicking on this, but unfortunately, these are the things that I'm thinking when I'm reading this. Like, I just don't quite get it. Now, in any event, the story's progressed. It's moved along, I guess. But I still have some questions. I'm not sure how this is going to resolve itself. This is definitely something. I've already read this 4 times. I'm going to have to read the whole story again from beginning to end when this ends in the next 2 chapters. I'm going to give a shout out to Tynion IV, the writer, the artist for this part 3, number 12. And again, once again, DC doesn't put the, they wait to the bloody end to put the credits, you know. Just make up your mind. It's a comic book. This is where the credits go. Don't deviate from standard norms, all right? Bloody, I hate when they do that. Anyways, you know, you got to go to the final page to find out what you're reading. What sense does that make? Good Lord. Anyways, Drowned Earth, part 3. James Tynion, the writer. Fraser Irving and Bruno Redondo did the art. Irving and Sonny Guo did the colors, and Tom Napolitano did the letters. And Jorge Jimenez and Alejandro Sanchez did the cover, and Lucio Perillo did the variant cover. Some of the art here, guys, it's really, really good. It's good stuff. Some of this stuff I don't quite fully understand. I don't know why. I don't know how Drowning the Earth somehow unlocked the other 2 hidden forces that Luther's talking about. I don't really understand how the key, Cheetah wants to destroy this key that she's holding. The key's enchantments are inextricably bound to the graveyards of the gods. It was forged to access. Even in this realm, it's part of the graveyard. Its destruction will set off a cosmic chain reaction echoing from our universe into the sphere of the gods and its great underworld. And as the graveyard is torn apart, the cosmic limits imposed on the gods will be eliminated and we'll be able to take them for ourselves. Okay, now here's my question to Cheetah. How on earth does she know that? And what, you know, she clearly never read that in a book. Where did she get that? Who told her that? What makes her believe that? This doesn't make any sense. And bear in mind, this is why this story is frustrating. And this is what makes a story not a good story or not a great story. This will never be a great story because of this. Bear in mind that we've got a lot of story that's happened. This is part 3. And we've had tie-ins in Aquaman. And this one explanation, this 2-paragraph thing that I just read from Cheetah, explains stuff that has never been said before. And where is that coming from? And how does she know that? And who told her that? This is complete fabrication out of nowhere. No support for it, no basis, no foundation. Where's it coming from? You know, and again, I can read that and okay, well, I get it. But where are you getting it from? This is the frustrating things about this. And in any event, it's okay, but overall, the really unfortunate part here is that Drowned Earth, this Drowned Earth storyline, all it's going to do is end this arc. And in terms of the overall narrative of understanding the forces, I guess we understand now the tier of extinction, but it's just stupid. I mean, imagine, so it's now a tier of extinction is a force that, it's a tier that apparently never dries up. I mean, why? It just, I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's much ado about nothing. But in any event, guys, tell me what you think. I'm frustrated. God damn it, I try to keep these videos. I mean, it's 16 minutes long going here in this video, but I'm trying to make sense of this, and it's okay, but honestly, it did take me probably 15 minutes to read the comic book, and I read it like how many 4 times, and I probably got a good hour in this comic, and I still got questions galore. It's just overall, and it's for that reason that I give this issue, even with Tiny and doing the explanation, I got to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6, maybe a 6.5 out of 10. The art elevates it to about a 7.5. Guys, talk to you later. And follow me on Twitter at Metropolis40. Hit the subscribe button, and Comic Boo out.